Thank you so much, Sean, for that amazing introduction. You should be on stage, man. I can't wait to see you introduce everybody at the board plans and trainings. But thank you so much. You're doing a great job hosting, and thank you, Bainu. I mean, Bainu. I feel like we should be paying Bainu like $150 an hour for all the tips and for all the consultations. So thank you so much, Bainu. You definitely rocked it, and Raneem. I mean, I think Raneem's always so excited. We hear you when you guys have the in-person events, all of us on Zoom, we always hear one voice in the crowd that's like, wow, always engaged. And we know like Janae and I look and we're like, that's Raneem. Always excited, always promoting products. So you guys did a great job and great questions and testimonies, Tony as well.
Great to hear from everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome Rose, welcome Ginikachi, welcome you guys to the team. So we want to keep this training pretty quick, pretty brief. But like Sean said, the topic is how you can increase your belief and decrease your fear. Because I think just like you guys who are new on the call, and even everybody who's, whether you're new, seasoned, maybe you've been in business for a little while, I think that's the number one goal. Obviously, you want to achieve certain financial goals or hit certain levels in business because you want to be, like many mentioned, financially free or have choices and options in your life. But the first hurdle that I think most people come up against is the fear wall. And one thing that I remember realizing early on in business is that fear is a mile wide, but it's an inch deep. So when you look out on growing your business and taking action, you feel like there's so many insurmountable things that you can achieve. But one thing that you'll learn is when you take that action, there's a quote that I love is action cures fear. And when you start to take that first little bit of action, you realize that the fear is very, very thin. There's nothing to it. You look out and you feel like you're going to step into a big ocean, but in fact, it's 1 inch deep. Or like Trevor and Lexi Baker say, it's like a big wall of construction paper. It looks like you can't break through it, but when you just nudge on it a little bit, it falls apart. And I think that's the first thing that you guys, especially if you're new and even if you're seasoned trying to grow in business, is you want to be able to overcome that fear by taking a little bit of action. Don't procrastinate. Especially if your coach is recommending you to do something, do it that day. Whether it's listening to a podcast, whether it's coming to a meeting, whether it's speaking to potential prospects, if you take action right away, it allows you to not get analysis of paralysis, where you analyze so much and then you don't do anything. So you want to take that action right away, because the action that you take, you're going to realize like, wow, it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. And the second thing that I want to say before kicking it over to Janae is that a quote that I love is that God does not call the equipped, but he equips the called. And what that means is that oftentimes we think that only certain type of people can do certain things. Only Vishal and Sonika can go diamond because they have something, inside of them. Obviously, they're the best looking couple on the call, but they have something different. They have something that I don't have. But one thing that we realized in our journey of business is that he doesn't call the equipped, but he equips the called. And what that means is that in your process of on your journey to achieving your goals, is allow yourself to grow with the challenges that you face. If you have a little bit of fear, you're going to grow by taking action on that fear. Even if it's something very, very little, maybe it's just talking to somebody. I remember Shirai, Sheree, I always say it wrong. I always think I'm saying it right, but then I say it wrong. But I remember she had a testimony a couple of paces ago about having an in-person conversation and how it was so maybe overwhelming, but then her brother Sean came and showed her how to do it, and she was able to break through those barriers. And I'm sure she could attest to it. And maybe even Sheree, if you want to speak on that one quick little topic, how did that work for you? Like, how did that mountain of fear kind of fall away when you took that first little bit of action?
Yes, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk. I will say just a quick background. I'm a teacher of 30 years, and I can stand up in front of children all day and speak. But when it came to this business at the beginning, I had a fear of talking to adults. And I think it was the fear of people saying no, fear of rejection. And so nobody likes to be told no. Nobody likes to be rejected. And so what happened was my mentors, my brother and Paramish and Barty came down and helped me with my grand opening. And in that process, throughout that weekend, I went out with my brother Sean, and I just watched him work. And so when, because I learned by seeing, visual. And so when I watched him work, I just had to say in my mind, listen, I just got to jump off and out into the deep end.
Hmm.
If I start drowning, he'll be able to pick me up. And so once I did it that one time, then I was like, oh, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
I started talking to everybody. So just jump out,
Yeah.
have faith and jump out, because like he said, it's only an inch deep. You will not fail. And if you fail, it's okay. It's okay. Pick
Mhm.
yourself up and continue.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank
thank
you
you.
so much for sharing that real life testimony because I think that's a great depiction of, like you said, a mile wide and an inch deep. Is that once you do it that one time, once you have that first conversation or you sell your first product or you get that testimony yourself, everything changes for you. And I know we experienced that as well. And I'm going to kick it over to Janae to give you guys some practical steps because the beauty of BWW, the Britt Worldwide organization, is that they came up with some specific steps that you can start to implement day in and day out in your business that are going to help you build that belief one step at a time and start to tear down that fear that you might have. So I'll kick it over to Janae if you want to jump into that.
Awesome, thanks. So, firstly, I want to introduce ourselves because John went straight into it and totally forgot. So we're John and Janae. We were personally sponsored by Divine Arte Advario in LA and Vishal Sonica right here on the call. So,
Yes.
Anywho, so yeah, I want to go through the 9 core steps because there's we heard I think it was from
Saji.
Saji and
Shushma.
Sushma
Yes.
just recently. They were saying that there's 2 types of fears. There's a fear of failure that Sheree was just talking about, but there's also the fear of rejection that Sheree was just talking about, and then also the fear of failure.
Mhm.
And so I feel like if we go through these 9 core steps and we stick to it and we just make it become our habit, then that fear of failure will kind of decrease. And so I'm gonna go through them. You didn't really have to share it, but it's okay. Awesome. So these are the 9 core steps. And I know that a lot of you have heard of these plenty of times. And if you're new, this is what we call being core. And so the reason I want to go through it is because when you make sure that these 9 core steps are your habit, then that fear kind of diminishes. Like you have so much belief in yourself because you feel like you're working the business really hard and your belief increases to the max, I feel. As long as you are doing it, daily. And so I want to go through them so that you guys have an idea of what they are. The first 2 are volume related, so product use and retail sales. That might not seem like it'll increase your belief in the business, but it will, because if you're using the products, then you're increasing your belief in the product or in your products on your website. That helped me. I have plenty of testimonies for myself and my family of using certain products, and so when you use it, you know that you can stand by them. And then, of course, your customers, building your customers, you get money, and obviously your belief increases when you get money in your business. So
Mhm.
those are the first 2. But I really want to focus on, and then there's showing the plan, which is networking. Um, so of course, showing the plan, networking, growing your team, of course, is going to increase your belief. There's some hurdles to that. Of course, you might fear rejection, like Sheree was just talking about when connecting with people. But the more that you do it, just like you heard her say, your fear will decrease. You will start to feel like you can do it anytime. You can connect with anyone. The more that you do it, just like John was mentioning, action cures fear. And so I want to focus mainly on 4 through 9 because this is something that really helped me in the beginning when I first started my business and when John first started his business and when many of us first started, was our personal development. So the 4th step would be attending your associations, attending your meetings. So that's your board plans, your team meetings, BBS, conferences that we're going to talk about in just a second. Just being around the team gives you so much excitement, gives you so much motivation and inspiration. It allows you to just be around winners and dream like winners.
Mhm.
And so your belief, of course, is gonna skyrocket when you're at a meeting. I mean, I'm sure most of us have been around people around the team, but if you haven't, definitely come to the conference. You'll definitely see what I'm talking about, but we'll talk about that later. Then there are listening to audios and reading books. These were the main two things that definitely helped me. So audios like Overcoming Your Fear and things like that. Like you can talk to your coach about what audios can help you if you're fearful of certain things. Because there are other people in the business who are leaders who have made really great accolades in this business who were fearful in the beginning as well. So you get to hear their stories, you get to relate and connect with those people as well if you listen to your audios every day. And then reading your books. We have a book of the month program. We have many books, and they're not just books just to have. I mean, they're books that leaders have used that have helped them grow their mindset. Just books that have increased positivity in our minds. You know, we don't have that on a normal basis. So some books that I read in the beginning that helped me believe in myself more, believe in my business were What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. I will probably talk about that book for the rest of my life because it truly helped me just affirm myself and know that, you know, I can do anything. And then Magic of Thinking Big. John actually stole one of the quotes from that book. But when I read that book in the beginning of my business, action cures fear was one of the quotes that I took to heart because it made sense. I mean, just like Sheree mentioned, action does cure fear. The more that you do things, the less you feel fearful of it. Um, and then, of course, step 7, being accountable. So being on time, it makes you feel better. Dressing well, dressing professionally in this business, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel confident. Just, you know, following the rules and just being a good business owner. And number 8, being teachable. So what does that mean? That means communicating with your upline and huddle, play, huddle. So that means sitting down with them, talking about what needs to be done in your business, what goals you have, you know, if you want to contact or sell a product, going and doing it, and then coming back again to talk about what you did, how you could have done it better, or maybe different tips that your upline can give you. That's super important because then you feel like, okay, for one, my upline knows who I am. They are working on my business with me. I'm not alone, and I can do it. I can reach my goals, and they're helping me do that. And you want to do that regularly. So we have huddles basically weekly with our upline. So that's kind of what you want to strive for. A weekly huddle. At first, maybe it might be monthly, but try to get in front of your upline as much as you can. And then communicating. Communicating the 9 core steps or the thing you're doing in your business by sending a core run daily message. That could be through the Connect app, the BWW Connect app, or through your upline messages that you have with your upline so that they know what you're doing. They know the activity you're making or that you're doing, the books that you're reading, what they know that what you're putting in is positive things and it's really going to benefit your business and increase your beliefs. So that's basically all I have for that. And we definitely want to talk about what's coming up on the last weekend of April. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was an amazing description of the 9 core steps. And one little point that I'll add that reminded me as you were talking is I think the easiest way to build your self-image and your belief when we were early on in business is like you mentioned is dressing well, showing up early to meetings and being like a part of the team. Because I think that sense of like accountability and just, you know, looking good, feeling good, like Deion Sanders always says, you know, if you look good, you feel good, you play good, you know, so if you look better, if you know, go out, like that's going to be an immediate self-image boost. And same with business, you know, events. If you're kind of the person that, again, there's no shame. Obviously, there's certain reasons why I'm sure some people come in late or don't have their videos on in certain situations. But if you make it a habit to come early, be on video, be a part of the team, you're going to notice that over the next couple of weeks that your belief, you're just going to feel a lot better about yourself because naturally, like, you know, we've been there where, you know, you kind of come in late to a meeting or, you know, you're not as attentive and it's like you don't even really want to participate because you're like, oh, did everyone see me? Is everyone, you know what I mean? So I think that's one big thing that definitely has helped us. But as we kind of finish up, like Janae said, is we definitely want to promote the conference because that's definitely a huge place to get a huge like Banu was talking about those B12 12 shots. This can be a belief shot right into your brain is the conference, going to the Syracuse conference. I know Los Angeles or the California team just had their conference this weekend. But I'll share my screen with the flyer. The Spring Leadership Conference that BWW is holding in Syracuse, New York on April 26th, 27th, 28th. If you haven't yet gotten your ticket, highly would recommend that you get your ticket, especially if you're new in business within your first contract year. You get complimentary access to this event where us who have been in the business for a little while are paying over $200 for the ticket, and then obviously transportation and travel, which obviously you'll have to work out with your coach and stuff like that. But definitely getting there, one, because of the complimentary access, but also two, because of the belief. I mean, you're going to learn all of this. They say that the conference puts 6 months of education into one weekend. So if you miss the conference, what's going to happen is you can still build the business and listen to audios, come to events, but your business is going to be, what's 6 months from now? 10, which is October.
Yeah.
So it would take you until October of this year to listen to the audios, come to the meetings, to get as much information as you could have by the end of April. So for me, it just made sense. Well, if I want to make money, I'm losing out on thousands of dollars by not going. So I would recommend making that a priority. And as we wrap up, 3 things that I would say just to help you maximize your time at the conference is number 1 is rate yourself going into the conference, rate yourself where you're at right now on the 9 core steps that Janae just went through. And be honest, give yourself an actual audit of how am I doing with my PV, personally as well as customers. How am I doing with my networking? Am I networking, showing the plan, doing what my coach is telling me? And then all the personal development habits. And look at it from a perspective of not condemning yourself, but where am I at and how can I grow? Because that's the only way that you're going to move forward. Like when, if somebody's overweight, getting mad because you're overweight isn't going to help you get back in shape. It's going to be, okay, where am I, why am I eating too much? Why am I not exercising as much? How can I take the next steps moving forward? Do the same thing with this business. It's not complicated, but it just requires a little bit of intention.
And even let your coach know where you rate yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to bring them into that.
Absolutely, because they can help kind of guide you in that process. Number 2 is, what do you want to gain from the conference? Sit down after you go through where you're at and walk through, okay, what are the things that I want to get out of it? Do I want to learn a certain question? Maybe you've been to a couple of conferences, so you don't necessarily want to learn anything, but you want to get a little bit more inspiration. Maybe you want to talk to your favorite speaker and get a picture with them. Or maybe you're new and you have a few questions. Like I know Guinea Kachi, every time we meet, she has like a list of questions that she has, which is great. So that means that she's engaged, she's learning. So come to the conference with a list of questions and let your coach know in advance, because the beauty of the conference is you can meet people before and after the sessions, so you can get your questions answered. They're going to answer it on stage. But again, make sure, 1, you're in your seat to learn about that stuff. And then last, book your calendar for the week after the conference. If you're brand new, sit down with your coach, at least for a huddle. But if you're a little bit seasoned in business, you should already have the mindset of, I want to have 2 or 3 MG1s booked for that week after, so that you can use the excitement. Because the worst thing is that to be super excited coming back from the conference and then to have no meetings that whole week. Because it's kind of like, obviously you can go out and contact people and reach out, but if you already have 2 or 3 MG1s set up, you're going to be super excited. Like, okay, I got the knowledge. Now let me go take action. And if you're new, obviously get on your coach's calendar for maybe that Monday or Tuesday, or meet with them at the conference before you leave if you're driving back. But those are the tips that we have is that's what I would recommend for everybody who's new in business or even seasoned. Is the goal is to increase your belief, but decrease your fear. So use those 9 core steps Janae was talking about to take those practical, applications. And we will see you guys in Syracuse on April 26th, 27th, and 28th. So with that, thank you guys so much for allowing us to speak. Yeah. And we'll kick it back over to Sean to wrap up the meeting.
Awesome hosting, Sean.
Yes.
All right.